This is a Glassbox Media Podcast.
Vive la acción, el drama, el as featured meal. Escoge entre un QPC, Big Mac o McNuggets de 10 piezas para acompañar unas papitas medianas, sweet and sour sauce y una bebida. En carteleras ahora. Para pa pa pa. En McDonald's participantes por tiempo limitado.
So I have some things to talk about for sure.
Okay, I do too.
Oh, good.
I do too.
Okay. First and foremost, I want to talk about, and I can't believe we haven't talked about this yet, the long distance love story, love in the time of Corona. The guy that was like saw that girl off of the on her roof, like dancing and whatever, and he sent over the drone with like an invite to dinner, and then they did like a long distance dinner.
That was really cute.
Oh my God, it's the cutest thing ever. And then did you see that he went out and put like on those big bubble thing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. So they had like a date where he was like in the big bubble and she was walking beside him.
I want to know, how does this man have a giant bubble and a drone? Like, what was his life like before?
Oh no.
Very fun, it sounds like. And I'm saying that's what's so fucked up and why I think people get pissed off when they're like dating nowadays. It's like zero effort put in.
Yeah.
And look at all the shit that this guy did. Like, that's all anybody wants is like effort makes people feel like they are important.
Special.
Or
Yeah.
special.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
in
this
any
is-
other time, they would have never met each other. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I love that.
I hope it
love
works
that
out.
story.
I'm
That was
rooting
a-
for them.
We need Corona couple right now.
I need it to work out. Honestly,
We need you.
real talk, I want people to write in if they're trying to date right now and what that's like. Because, like, how?
We did have somebody post on our in our group that they were trying to date and were asking for advice, and I think like it's got to be tough right now. I mean, tougher than ever. I mean, forget about like online dating is so shitty already, kind of, you know, but then to top it off that you don't actually ever get to meet somebody in person for months. Or maybe it's a great thing. Maybe you really get to know somebody by a virtual date or a hangout or whatever.
I do think it's funny that Love is Blind and The Circle both came out before this, and both of them were like self-isolation. Like meeting somebody through a wall, not seeing them in person for 2 weeks or whatever. And then The Circle was kind of the same. I didn't finish The Circle, but I had started watching it and I saw a meme that was like, now I understand why the contestants on The Circle would get all dressed up and put on fancy clothes for like just to sit in their own kitchens and talk to other people. And I'm like, yes,
True.
Because I would go crazy. I've been doing that. Like, I've been trying to, if I have a work happy hour or if I have to be on camera for a Zoom call or whatever, I put on makeup and I try and like do my hair because I'm like, I feel like we need these little things that make us feel human, like make us feel normal, you know?
But are you guys just Winnie the Pooh in it? Like just getting dressed up from waist up, like pajama pants and just like a nice top?
I didn't the first week of quarantine. I was like full outfits. Let's do this. Like not shoes, but like everything else. Now, I mean, I'm hard pressed if I can put on jeans. I was putting on jeans for a while. And then I was just like, I don't want to stay in my pajamas, but I don't want to wear jeans. So I've been wearing like all of my athleisure. Like I have clicked on the ad for Fabletics like 4 times. Like I'm like, I might buy 2 for $24 leggings during this because I feel like it's the happy medium. It's like you feel like you're dressed, but you're still comfortable.
I'm ashamed of all the online shopping that I've done. It's so not me. And I'm like, honestly, I'm on furlough. Who the fuck do I think I am? I got a little bit of money from tax returns, so I'm some kind of fancy bitch.
I'm not an online shopper either, and I have been like through this. Like I'm having to give myself like every paycheck, what are the things that you really want, and buy those things, and like not go fucking insane. But yeah, because I was just like, I'm gonna get skincare. It's like something to look forward to. I think is what it is more than anything. It's like.
Well, not only that, all the usual things that we're used to doing that boost our endorphins or that, you know, give us that little like boost are things that are stripped from our life right now. So your brain is probably looking for like the reward center is like, I'm hungry, feed me any way you can.
Oh yeah. And I have found I'm trying to channel that into like healthy avenues, right? So there was I am gonna like take care of my skin, and I did need things, so I bought stuff, and I actually think that was that was a totally fine purchase. But man, was I excited when that package came. Like you would think it was fucking Christmas. I was like, yay! But then also the gardening. I'm telling you, man, I started gardening, and it helps so much. There is something like so calming and relaxing about like planting something, watching it grow, and I planted a bunch of fruits and veggies, so I'm also like really excited. I have something to look forward to where I'm like, oh, I can't wait until I can pick these peppers and make food with them, and I'm like so happy.
Yeah, I love that we're like all kind of finding a little bit of joy in whatever it is, you know, even if it's small. Gosh, because that's really what everybody's just struggling to find, like little bits of happiness. Oh my gosh. And speaking of little bits of happiness, the teddy bears in the window thing.
I know.
I love
cute.
that.
So cute.
That aspect of it, and being somebody that's still like out in the world dealing with people, like being back inside of a restaurant. I will say that like every single person that has come in has been so grateful. And like, this one guy's like, you have no idea, like that I was looking forward to this dish. I was thinking about it all day. You know what I mean? And it's like, they're so excited. This has become so, such a big deal instead of the usual, like people just come in and they're like, yeah, whatever, you know, take it for granted. So
yeah, it does. It feels more special. I think that's true. It's like these little things that we did take for granted before. Going on walks, getting out and experiencing like fresh air and like all those things that seem so little feel so much more special now than they did before. And you know what I'm finding? I'm finding that I think I would be a pretty good homesteading wife. Because now that I started this garden, I'm like, I'm going to make my own pickles. I'm like, I made bread yesterday. I made like homemade focaccia. I'm like, I'm going to be great at this. I'm like, if the apocalypse hits, you guys,
you're nailing
we can do it. We can do it.
Nice.
It's so funny. I am like the opposite, which is weird because I do have the urge to kind of like, oh, I mean, I'm home. Maybe I'll order some stuff to like knit or crochet or something. And I'm like, I don't know. That gene is not kicking in yet, but I did cook the other day though.
You did.
I made my shepherd's pie.
I know, and we were all like,
so
wow.
proud.
Because
like,
Cassie doesn't cook. Cassie doesn't cook. It's usually Chris that cooks.
That's right. Who dis?
It did look delicious though.
It was really fucking good. It was really fucking good. I ain't gonna play.
Well, I mean, I've been the other source of joy that I've been getting is going down YouTube rabbit holes.
Oh my God.
Of just the most like weird stuff has made me happy. Like, I think I told you Emerson and I have found this like meat guy on YouTube.
Oh,
We've been watching this same Brazilian guy like cook up all these different steaks and stuff. I've watched like 100 of these videos. I'm like, I don't know why, but it's so like pleasing.
YouTube is the most bizarre platform because it is the stuff you will watch other people do is insane. Like, I've been watching, of course, my normal like makeup channels, and now I've incorporated gardening channels. And I'm like, I could watch you guys like plant seeds and harvest vegetables like all day, like all day.
Yeah.
I honestly spend more time on YouTube than I do on Netflix. Like I'm on YouTube like way more, just like watching people do stuff. Yeah, you know what? That's another thing about this that I like is that I like seeing people get kind of creative and like use different platforms. Like TikTok I remember rolling my eyes when I first heard about TikTok. I was like, whatever. Same. And now I think it's great. I think it's really cool that people can be creative and create their own like little videos, like little filmmakers everywhere. Everybody has the ability to do that now. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Me too. That compilation that we had on the group chat was so fucking funny.
Crying.
It was like people falling and then it like mixed with the songs.
Oh my God.
Oh, and I love all the challenges.
Crying.
Like, I'm going to post it. It was actually Rachel Esquivel, who's a listener of ours. She had tagged Anthony and I in a video of Angela Johnson, who's a comedian, and she was doing a thing with her husband where it was like to the Mission Impossible theme song, and she like did this like climbing thing where she like went on his back and like over him and then like through his legs and back up again. Mm-hmm. And she tagged Anthony and I in it, and she's like, I want to see you guys try and do this. So the other night we'd like had a few drinks and I was like, we're going to do it. We're going to figure out how to do it. And we did it. It's not as good as they did it, but it's fun. Like, I love that.
It
like,
was
we
really
have
good though.
These TikTok challenges.
It.
I'm going to post it later. So I'll post it. I put the Mission Impossible theme song over it. So I'll post it later, but it's just, I think it's cool that we're able to do that. And then I did it with
Chuck. So.
Yeah, the other thing is like cooking videos. That's been my thing. Is like, I think that's one of my big pieces of joy right now is like, and especially since I have an audience now that I have like Eric, I'm like, I'm gonna cook this for you, and then he's like, I'm gonna cook this for you, and so it becomes like the thing that we look forward to every day is like the what's for dinner game. Is super fun.
And it's fun finding new like routines, especially if you're with a partner right now. Like, it's interesting to see the roles that Anthony and I kind of like fell into, and they were roles that already existed but are now just like exaggerated. Like, he wakes up before me every morning. By the time I wake up, he's already like swept the floors and done the dishes. He like showers, gets up in the morning and like cleans. And then like I get up in the morning and I water the plants, and then I'll like cook, and I like cook everything, and he cleans everything. Yeah. And it's just like kind of, we've developed a new rhythm to how we live now, you know? It's cool.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, Eric's definitely the early riser, so he's like he gets coffee going in the morning.
Yeah.
And like,
you're like, bless you, my child.
Yes.
Thank you.
He's like holds it out steadily. Here you go. Feed the beast.
Just one hand reaches out from the dark, grabs it.
Like,
Did you guys hear about how Oprah had kicked Stedman out to the guest house during all of this?
No.
So like, I guess a couple weeks ago he came home. And he like got off a plane and he was like, honey, I'm home. Let's hang out. Let's go to bed. And she was like, absolutely fucking not. Take your corona-ridden self to the guest house for 3 weeks. I don't want to see your face. She made him self-isolate in the guest house. And she just recently let him back in. I mean, I get it. Oprah's old. Like, she's not here to fuck around. Like,
and she's like, I am a national treasure. Yes. Get the fuck away from me.
I'm not here to fuck with my
You're just
health.
Stedman.
Yeah, she's like, you chose to get on a plane. I didn't tell you to do that. So you can go to the guest house for but I just love that she was just like, absolutely not. Go to the guest house. And
that's
granted,
amazing.
Their guest house is probably bigger than like most full houses. Yeah. So I'm not feeling sorry for Stedman. I just thought it was funny.
Shed.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, I don't know what this country would do if Oprah came down with the coronavirus. It was hard enough to get through Tom Hanks.
That's
I mean,
true.
and is he still sick?
I don't know. I haven't seen anything.
Me neither, but I would feel like he's probably got to be on his way to recovery now.
Yeah.
It's been like 3 weeks.
I saw today that Pink recovered from it. Yeah. I didn't even know she had it.
I didn't either.
I'm just like,
that was weird.
I mean, here's the thing though, like so many people have been like tested positive for it. And I'm just like, man, it must be fucking nice to just be able to get a test whenever you don't have any symptoms.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because that's how we know that Idris Elba has it, is just because he was able to be like, hey, can I get a test? And they were like, sure, you're Idris Elba. Like, meanwhile, I know people who have been sick for like a week and they can't get a test. So
yeah. Well, I looked up testing centers in LA, and I think like the nearest one is like, they're like testing centers for LA are in Palmdale.
What?
And Glendale.
Palmdale?
And shit like that. And I'm like, Palmdale? Who the fuck's driving to Palmdale?
Nobody. That's not LA.
although
Even with no traffic.
I was gonna say in LA traffic right now, you could probably get there.
Well, it's true.
Pretty nice, you know. Anthony and I have been so bored. We're like, we haven't done it yet, but we're like, do you want to maybe just like get in the car and drive around? Like, do you want to drive around downtown, like in areas where we would never drive because there's usually too many people?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, here's my big question. And I just saw this the other day and they were like, no means no, like no hanging out with anybody, even if you're 6 feet apart, no walking in parks together. I'm like, what the fuck difference would it make if we all have to cover our faces anyway? We're not touching each other. If we walked beside each other in a park in an open air space, like I don't understand actually how that is.
I think their concern is that it lingers in the air up to 6 feet, and actually they're saying further now. So that's why they don't want you to be any closer, because it's actually the worst, or what I've read. I'm not a fucking doctor, but what I've read is that the easiest way to contract it would be through like water droplets in the air. So if somebody like sneezes, or like, that's why they initially like shut down fucking gyms like immediately, because it's too much like moisture and like stuff like that. So that's why they say not to be 6 feet, because it can linger in the air that long, like far.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, who should we fuck, marry, kill this week?
Oh, I was just going to say, I've had on my list of ones that I've wanted to do because I think it would be fun. We should do divas.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
Yeah, those are always fun. Like, you've got I like mine. I really want to do Celine Dion because I just think that she's great. And then there's like, you've got your Mariah Carey's.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Got your Aretha
Oh my
Franklin's, which, you know, pass,
But yeah, you cried. You got to meet her.
Oh, I did cry. I cried like a baby.
I had to go with Mariah Carey.
Mm-hmm. It's solid.
She is my generation's diva.
When you think of a diva, you think of Mariah Carey. Like that woman. That woman doesn't even walk around on her own stage. Like, she pays big muscly men to carry her around now.
So true.
Like, that's like the most diva thing you could ever do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's so over the top now. She's my brother and his husband are like in love with her. They she actually just released a single not that long ago, and they were playing it nonstop. They like loved it.
She's like a caricature of a human being. It's like she's like
now,
not even like a real person anymore. Like when I saw her, what was it, a couple of years ago when she did All I Want for Christmas Is You, like live, and it was the worst thing. It's like she could not care less. It's like she like took your check and then she just stood up on that stage, and it was like she put forth 0.5 amount of energy. Like it was like,
oh yeah. Well, and I'm like, she's got 90s music business money. You know what I mean? Like that was peak money. Anybody that had success in the 90s and sold records, that's when everybody was making the most money.
Well, and she has more number one hits than she beat the Beatles in like the early 2000s. Yep. I don't know if anyone's beaten her out now, but at the time, like in the early 2000s, she beat out the Beatles for like the most number one hit singles. So she's fucking, she gives no fucks at all. Like at all. Which I gotta kind of respect that. Like, I don't think she cares one bit, like what anybody fucking thinks at all.
And I love that.
To.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to have that power. Oh my God, to just be like, yeah, fuck you. Yeah. What are you going to do?
I feel like she carried
you know?
that into her marriage with Nick Cannon, though. She was just like, sir, I'm Mariah fucking Carey. Like, who are you?
What's
And
your
I love
name
that.
again?
I love that meme of her where, like, I guess her and J-Lo have some kind of feud. And at one point, like, someone asked her about it. Have you seen that gif? Like, someone asked her and they were like, what about Jennifer Lopez? And she straight up, like, looks at the guy and goes, I don't know her.
I love that.
She's like, I don't know.
I don't know her. And I'm like, oh my God, I fucking love it.
Ooh.
It's
The
amazing.
petty level is so extra. I was
Yeah.
actually considering J-Lo, and I was like, you know, you have divas like in all ranges too, because I think that, like, you know, you look at, like, I think J-Lo's definitely, I would consider her a diva.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
100.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, like even like maybe Bette Midler.
Oh, yeah.
Cher.
Cher. Yeah, I was going to say Cher
Yeah.
for sure. Mm-hmm.
I think I'm
And
gonna go with Bette
anyone who
Midler.
they've
I love
impersonated
Bette
on
Midler.
Drag Race. Anyone.
Yes.
Dolly
Yes.
Parton. Dolly Parton.
Oh,
But she's
Dolly
like a
Parton is
sweet,
diva, but she is
the sweetest
amazing.
diva.
She-
Yeah.
she- I mean, yeah.
All right.
All right,
Who
I'm
are
going
you
to
going
do,
with, Keegan?
I'm doing Celine Dion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mine's
Who are you going with?
Mine's between Bette Midler and Dolly Parton. I think I'm going to go Bette Midler. Let's make it difficult.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Fuck. Okay, give me just a second.
I think I know.
Yeah.
I think
Okay,
I'll go first.
You
then.
go first.
Go for it.
Well, I'm gonna start by right off by killing Mariah Carey. I can't. I'll never be good enough. Nothing will ever be good enough. No one will ever be good enough.
She
I
will put forth
most
no
certainly-
effort in bed at all.
Oh,
None.
hell no.
She's going to lay
And-
there.
I just can't live up to her expectations. So I'm just gonna politely bow out.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Of
feel
that.
like that's a good call.
I am going to. Okay, I'm going to fuck Celine Dion because, as much as I like Celine Dion, I could not live with her full time. I just couldn't. I could not. I could not. And I love the idea of our Franglish relationship, where we could speak Franglish to each other. But yeah, it would have to be short term. I couldn't deal with her for long. Bette Midler, I'm going to marry her. And here's why. A, she is fucking fabulous. She's totally beautiful. She is probably got multiple like homes where, like, if she got tired of me, we could just be separate and we'd be okay with that. I feel like we're both strong, independent women who would be absolutely fine with that.
And she's funny.
She's really political too.
Yeah, she is.
Political, hilarious, you name it. You name it.
You know, I
Oh my
think
God, now I want to watch Beaches again.
Beaches.
I just watched Big Business. Have you guys seen Big Business?
No.
It's an 80s movie. I don't think I've ever seen it, but it's her and Lily Tomlin, and they play like twins that were separated at birth. So they grew up as each other's twins into separate like world. It's so fucking hilarious.
You got one
and
twin
stupid.
who's like 5'2" and one twin who's
Right.
like 5'11".
They're surprisingly fairly similar in height, and they look nothing alike, right? So like the fact that they one grew up rich, of course, one couple of them, and then one couple of them grew up very poor. It's the most absurd movie. I've never seen it before, and it
Big
was like
Business?
into an 80s movie mode. Yes.
That is so strange. Okay. I've never heard of that movie.
Never heard of it, never watched
I
it.
love random 80s comedies. They're so silly. They're so like you said, like the plot lines, you're like, what? Who greenlit this? Like, it was like, let's do it. How many millions you need? Oh
Speaking
my
of, I
God.
also watched Splash.
Oh, yes.
I've never seen
I love that
Splash.
movie. It's good.
Yeah, I mean,
It's really
I'm
fun.
not opposed. I'm not opposed. So, Cass, okay. I think I've got to work this through, like, talking out loud. I think I'm going to do the same thing. Because as much as I think that Mariah Carey is fucking hilarious, like, I think that the way she is so funny, it would be I think it would get old really quickly if you had to live with it all the time. And I also don't think that she would be. You can't have two lazy bitches in bed. It's not going to work. Like somebody's got to put the work in. And if it's not going to be me, it's definitely not going to be her. So I think I've got to kill Mariah Carey for those reasons. Deep, deep love and appreciation. I fucking was obsessed with Mariah Carey when I was like little, obsessed with her. I thought she was the most amazing person in the world. But so yeah, I'm going to kill Mariah Carey. Celine Dion is the most like extra person.
Totally.
I fucking love it. Like I love it because she's another one of those who like gives no fucks. Like I feel like if you were with Celine Dion, you're going to have like peacocks on the property. Like it's going to be wild and it will never get boring. Look at what she wore to her wedding. That shit was insane. Like, and she doesn't care. And she doesn't care. And I fucking love that. But I think long term, me and Bette have a better chance of making it. It's the only reason why I would pick Bette over Celine because I think Celine would be funny. I think it would be fun to be married to her.
Yeah, out of all the divas, Bette really does seem like the most down to earth, normal.
She seems more normal
person.
Yes. Yeah. Which is unusual because you got like a Barbara Streisand who I feel like is kind of like the same as Bette Midler, but way more extra, like way more diva-y. You know what I mean? Whereas Bette Midler is kind of more chill. So I think I would fuck and friend Celine. Like we're gonna hang out in Vegas. I'm going to go over to Celine's house in the summers to hang out by her pool and just listen to her sing to me for no reason. Because you know she's the type of diva who does that.
100%.
She's constantly singing.
Yes.
Constantly.
Yes.
She's that person that when you're in the car with them is always singing the harmonies to songs.
Oh my God, yes.
Yes. And you know what? As a friend, fucking love it. Like, let's do carpool karaoke together. Like, that would be the most fun. So I'm gonna like fuck and friend Celine, and then I'm gonna marry Bette because it's true. It's like we would be like aligned politically, which would be good. She will sing. I feel like she will sing at home karaoke with me. She seems like that type of person. She won't make me feel bad for not being as good a singer as her. I feel like she would just be like, we're having fun. It's fine. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
She seems like somebody that has pajama pants and is fine with like wearing them.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You sit on the couch in pajama pants with a bowl of popcorn.
Yeah, she doesn't take herself
Netflix
too seriously. She's not trying to be like, you know, like working out all the time either. So we could just totally veg with some ice cream and kick it. Like, yeah, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I am also going to marry Bette Midler for all the reasons stated. It just feels like something that would actually last. However, I'm going to kill Celine Dion.
She gets on your nerves.
Oh, absolutely.
I love her.
I can't with that. I can't with that at all. It's too much. I'm just like annoyed with that level of extra. Or that kind of extra, because Mariah Carey is the extra-ist of extra, but hers like her like snarkiness is really fucking funny to me. It's so funny.
It is funny.
And I'm like, you know what? For one night, I can put in the work. It would be worth it because that one crazy night with Mariah. That's too much. It would be amazing, and I have to.
I just feel like I would leave feeling bad about myself. Like,
and you're right. She's not going to do anything to contribute.
And then she's gonna make you feel bad for not having gotten her off. And I'm like, but I tried as hard as I could.
Right. I did the best I could.
The memes and gifs I would get from it, though,
That's true.
It's too worth it.
That is true. The quotes you would bring back to us about the things she said. And you know she gives no shits either. Like, she would talk shit on everybody to you and not even care. Like,
yeah. It's literally that's shade level like that's the pinnacle of it. That clip when she's like, I don't know her. It's so
it's so extra.
It's the perfect
I do
thing.
appreciate that. There is like I appreciate that. There's a part of me that's like, I wish I could have that much self-confidence and care that little. You know?
And I think it's so appealing to me, like right now in the situation that I'm in, you know, with my work where I'm like, I wish that I had that level of give no fucks. I need to have like a tiny bit more of it. So I think maybe if I spent one night with her, maybe some of that would rub off on me.
Just one night would be all you need to get
like
a
glitter.
dose of that. Like glitter.
I was obsessed with Celine Dion when I was a kid, like to the point I had her cassette tape, the one that had My Heart Will Go On it, whatever album that was. I had it on cassette tape and I wore that fucking thing out. I loved her so much.
Oh my God.
And then she came to Vegas and I saw her perform, and that bitch can sing. All of them can sing, or Mariah could sing.
Sing.
Used to.
I think she's wrecked her voice from singing the way that she did for as long as she did.
Yeah,
I think
I agree.
You know, that lifespan isn't great. Well, first and foremost, this is my worst date. I'm Cassie.
I'm Keegan.
I'm Christina.
Hey.
And we have new patrons.
We do.
Yay.
We do. We have we got like a slew of new patrons. It's very heartwarming. Like, I'm so surprised in such a positive way that like this many people have signed up to join our Patreon in the last week and a half or so. So I want to give a shout out to Taryn McGillivray, Taryn McGillivray, Lauren McCool.
Aw.
Let me see. Sorry.
We have Hannah Young, Rin Manzano.
Yeah.
Patricia Veramontes.
Yes.
And then we also had 2 of our current patrons move up or up their contribution, which we so appreciate. Dana and Darren, that you guys both upped your contribution. I really appreciate that. Well, not just we appreciate that.
We also have Victoria Rader and Kat Gavornik as well, who became patrons recently. We appreciate you guys so much. I know how hard times are for so many people right now. And I remember I was doing a live on YouTube last week, and I was talking to you guys about, like, we were like kind of debating whether or not we wanted to do new merch, and we just weren't sure because we didn't want to introduce more things that, you know, people would have to spend money on, when I know that like so many people in the country are struggling so much right now, or in the world are struggling so much because they're not able to get out and work and kind of like do those things. So we appreciate you guys. We don't take you for granted. We know what it means to contribute to us in this way. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and we're so grateful. And furthermore, it's just, you know, the lengths that we've gone through to have to keep making new content, you know, during this thing. It's just like, it just feels like such a thank you. And, you know, I'm grateful that people are still listening and still, you know, finding joy. We hope this brings you joy right now. So
yeah, hope so.
Well, you guys want to take 5 and then we'll come back with stories?
Sounds good.
And we're back.
Yay. Okay, I get to start us off. This one's been in our inbox for a minute. Its subject is a horrible night with a terribly toxic human.
Oh, sounds fun.
Exactly.
Grady.
She starts it off, ladies!
Hey!
Exclamation point. Hey!
Dun, 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 dun. Hey, ladies.
Remember a few months back, the story of Chad and his obsessed ex-girlfriend breaking into his parents' house? Do you remember that? She was like in another basement room.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And that she's like, well, I wrote that story and I have another story for you. And believe it or not, Chad met the guy in my next story at one point. Let's call him John. We were all in a large group one night, and Chad and John met. The next day, Chad told me he didn't think John was good for me and was worried about how he treated me. Yes, Chad was truly terrible, and I'm the first to admit I ignored a million red flags when it came to him, but this is one thing I should have listened to him about. So, John and I, here's a little bit of backstory. We dated for a total of 9 months in my mid-20s. We got serious very quickly. I was basically living with him at his dad's house, riding to work with him, spending most of my time with him, which I now know is not healthy. We all did that.
Everyone.
In our 20s, though.
Yes.
Well, people still
Everyone.
do. Like, people still do that. When you get into a new relationship and it's exciting, like, all you want to do is hang out with that person. That's normal.
Yeah. Okay. So here are some of the asinine things he did while we were dating. He got into a drunken fight with his brother, which resulted in the throwing of a full cooler indoors and the breaking of several of his toes.
Oh my God. Is this a high school story? What is happening?
Again, all I can think about is, like, the parents. Like, if those were my fucking kids, I'd be like, I did not agonize through however many hours of labor and then however many years of having to fucking raise you for you to behave like this. Stop it.
Exactly.
Like,
Stop.
Fucking animals.
This next one makes me laugh so hard. He got so drunk at my cousin's wedding that he threw up and passed out in the garden outside of the banquet hall.
there are a few things that are more, like, mortifying to me than bringing someone to meet your family who fucking behaves like that. Like, that's like my nightmare. Like, absolutely not.
I think I told you guys about the time there's this guy that I was dating, and I had only been dating him for like a couple of weeks, and I took him to my Gigi's like 70th birthday party at Spaghetti Warehouse.
Amazing. I love where this is going.
Can we? Why is it? It's a very Midwestern thing to put warehouse at the end of a place where you eat, and for people to be like, "Yeah, that sounds good." Like, why would you want to eat in a warehouse? Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So like the whole family is there, and it's a big long table, and that's how I found out that Pete liked to drink like a lot. I thought he was. You remember in our shorty we were talking about like, oh, are you cocaine fun guy or cocaine all time guy?
Yep.
So that's how I found out he was like drink all time guy, because he got plastered in front of my whole family and kept having to leave to go to the bathroom to route.
No,
Dude.
Yeah, he was that drunk.
Oh God,
He
it's
was,
so
like,
embarrassing.
Sitting down noticeably drunk. You know what I mean?
Justin
When
Timberlake
someone's
drunk?
like rocking.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where you can tell from a picture, you're like, that dude's wasted.
Exactly. So, okay, the horrible night. It was around month 6 when he suggested we do something fun. We had been fighting for a week straight, and he was hoping to make it up to me. We lived in the suburbs outside of Chicago.
I don't think that ever works, by the way. I don't think that ever works.
Yeah.
If you're in a place with your significant other where the two of you have been fighting for a week straight, like, we've all been there where it's just like, if you, like, I was there with my ex where we fought like nonstop. If you think going away together is going to fix it, no, it is not.
It isn't,
It is
no.
not. Like,
It's not.
Spoiler alert, it is not going to work. So he got a hotel room just north of the city where we could take the train downtown for a nice dinner and night out. He never wanted to go out to nice places, which is one of my favorite things. I'm not rich or snobby, but I work hard and enjoy treating myself. Fucking men.
Treat
What
yourself.
we talk about, like, effort. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just a little bit of effort. And it's not like, yeah, if you know someone else likes something, you know, once in a while you go do it, even though it might not be your favorite thing.
well, and it's sometimes just nice, like, to feel fancy. It's why we all
Right.
put makeup on to Zoom chat each other, okay? Like,
Yeah.
Not today, though.
not today. None of us are wearing makeup today,
No.
for the record.
No. So we checked into the hotel in the afternoon, hung out for a while, and then got ready to go to dinner. As I was getting ready, he suggested we go to dinner close to the hotel, then take the train downtown to Bar Hop. This wasn't our original plan, but I said okay. Instead of going to one of the nice restaurants in the area, he took me to a small cafe where we ordered at the counter and they brought the food to the table.
Was it a cafe warehouse?
Yes. It is the Midwest, so maybe. Not really the nice dinner he had originally promised, but I shook it off. We finished dinner and made our way to the train. As we're standing on the platform waiting for the train, something about his demeanor seemed off. We had each only had 2 drinks at dinner, so I knew he wasn't drunk and asked what was going on.
Cocaine?
He said nothing, and he was just happy to be out with me.
Okay.
We get on the train, and he still doesn't seem like himself. We get downtown and head into the bar, and I ask him again, what is up with you?
Oh my God, is he going to propose?
He tells me he had taken E before we went to dinner. Motherfucker was on ecstasy.
Oh my God.
First and foremost, why do you want to take E when you're supposed to just be going on a nice like dinner date
Right.
and then you know what I mean?
It seems like a
it just
waste.
doesn't
It's not
seem
a party night.
Exactly. It's like a connect kind of night, and I don't know. I've been
it's
on
not
E.
like you're taking it together either, which would be different.
Mhm.
Like if you were both taking
Also-
it like together and like hanging out together, then
Yeah,
I'd be like,
he's-
okay. But he took it in secret, which is also,
Right.
guys, look, if you think people don't know when you're on E, everyone knows. Like
We know.
it's not one of those sneaky drugs. It's like you can tell. And
Yeah.
I hate this person.
Yeah. She says, I was livid. Asshole had promised me one nice night out and couldn't behave long
You
enough
can't
to
give me
deliver.
one night. This sounds like my ex. I'm like, you can't get your shit together for one night.
And can you imagine how fucking pissed you'd be? Your pissed is amplified. There's an amplified level of pissed because you've already been pissed for a week.
Yes, exactly. Oh my God.
So you're pissed squared
yes.
at this point.
Maybe
and you're
cubed.
alone with them. You're alone with them in a hotel room. Like, this is why I'm telling you, never do this. Like, if you are fighting, and especially if it's this type of man, I know exactly this kind of man. If you are dating this man and you have been fighting for a week, do not go off alone with him for a weekend to make it better. It is not going to make it better. All it's going to do is piss you off further. And now you're pissed in a hotel room.
Right. Yeah. And not only that, I might devil's advocate here. Maybe that's what you need to finally tell him to go fuck himself.
There you
Okay.
go.
Do you know what I
Could be
mean?
that.
Fine, yeah. If you're looking
be.
for something to give you the motivation to push you over the edge to finally pull the trigger, then by all means say yes. Say yes. Because
This will do it.
We got back to the hotel and I locked myself in the bathroom to take a long shower in hopes of cooling down from how angry I was with him. Now, if I'm pissed, squared, and I actually get in the shower,
That's not gonna
now I'm
help.
going to be pissed.
Yeah.
I'm going to be pissed to the third power
Cubed.
because
you're thinking about it.
Exactly.
Mhm.
'Cause the
Me
shower
too.
is where I fucking think of things I want to say.
It's where
I'm
thoughts
like,
go to
oh,
marinade. That's right.
Yep.
Got a little
It's the
Zatarans
same.
on it. Shit's getting spicy.
Yes. You
Oh my
bam,
God.
kick it up a notch is what you're doing in the shower.
I can't. When I finally get out of the shower, he's chain smoking cigarettes,
no.
dancing, and listening to shitty house
Yeah,
music.
yeah.
So
I mean, it tracks.
I am
It fucking
so
tracks.
like this man, if I'm already mad and then I come out of the fucking shower and you are like not a care in the world, fucking high, I will be. Does this end in a murder? Should be murder?
Is this your crazy love story?
This is actually a snapped episode.
And the jury's like, understandable. Let that woman go.
Free that bitch.
Exactly. He offered me some E, and when I said no, he took what was left. I put in my headphones, and went to sleep for the night while he did God knows what for who knows how long.
I hate him.
In the morning, when it was time to check out, he was still so fucked up that he couldn't drive. I ended up having to drive his car back to his dad's
I
house.
am triggered by this story. I just feel like it's too close to my lived experience.
Yeah. I dropped him off at his dad's and didn't see him for a week. It was a few weeks after this that he got drunk at my cousin's wedding, and we broke up.
Oh my God.
But continued to sleep together for 3 months because I've had major self-esteem validation and boundary issues.
And
honey, we've all been there.
everybody's been there. Everybody needs a little dick every now and then too.
And I bet
know what I
he
mean?
was
Yeah.
good at it, unfortunately. We've had this
the
conversation many
thing.
times where it's like the grossest dudes are like the best at sex for some reason. I don't know why.
Oh my God. She says he got sober about 8 months after all this happened, but I hadn't heard from him since, but then I told him he was no longer allowed to contact me. Addiction is terrible, but it is never an excuse for a person's behavior, and mental health can't be the reason someone manipulates another person into staying in a relationship. We can only be responsible for ourselves. End of story.
Amen.
Dude.
Truth.
But oh my God, can you imagine if I was pissed off about something and was so furious and worked myself into a fury, and I just see that coming out of the shower and him just like wilding out and making the hotel room a rave, you know?
Oh my God. I don't know how I would respond. I don't know
I think
how
I'd get
would
back in the
respond.
shower.
Oh my
Just
God.
turn around.
So
I'm going
fucking
back
funny.
in.
Awful.
And then he's like, "You want this?" She's like, "Absolutely fucking not." And then he's like, "Okay."
Oh.
Takes the rest.
Thanks. I hate it.
Jesus.
I hate it.
Yes.
Okay, this is an email that we received. Hello, wonderful ladies. Let's get down to business. Intentional Mulan plug.
Nice.
I was like legit bummed out that they had to delay the
Yeah.
Mulan release. I was looking forward to it. Newly and painfully single on Tinder, I matched with Brad, a scruffy musician who apparently didn't take pictures without his guitar.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Every picture on Tinder.
Oh no.
He's like, did I mention I was a musician? Could you tell?
Oh my God.
Did you guys have a
He-
campfire? Because I got a guitar.
He lived 45 minutes away, and because I was still in college at the time, I had asked that we meet somewhere in the middle for a drink. I mentioned I shouldn't be out late due to an early class in the morning. Not entirely true, but always good to plan a getaway if necessary. Amen. He shot that down and told me to meet at his place, and he would drive us wherever he decided we would go. He was
Ew.
right. Ew. So I'm going to drive 45. You're like, let's meet in the middle. He's like, no, you'll drive the full 45 minutes to me, and then I will decide where we go. Already,
No.
I'm like, fuck you. Blah, 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 blah. He was already in his car waiting for me when I arrived, so our first real meeting was an awkward hello hug over the center console. Get out of your car. Like, you've never met this
Dude.
person before? Get out of your fucking car and say hello.
Dude, a guy got a drone and
Okay.
asked someone out, and you can't get out of your fucking front seat.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Mhm. Effort level 0.
Gross. Yep.
And also, it's weird that he was just waiting for her in his car. Like, when she pulled up, he was already in his car. Like, that's
Yeah.
weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
before we could even get through the gate to his complex, he had already mentioned 1, his ex-wife. 2, he keeps $600 to $800 in cash in his bedside drawer. 3,
What?
his ex-wife recently stole that money.
What? I can't keep up. Wait, what?
Good for her.
4, he's a musician, and that money was for his album that's coming out soon. I remember looking out the window thinking I had made a terrible mistake. He drives us to a touristy area of Orlando, and when we get out of the car, I finally get a good look at him. He's small. He's about 5 inches shorter than me. I'm 5'10", and is so thin I wouldn't be able to get my calves through his skinny jeans. I mean, no offense to guys who are shorter, but at the time, I was still trying to be more comfortable with my height. Understood.
You know that I feel that so hard. So yeah.
And it's honest. It's probably why he didn't get out of the car. Actually.
Oh,
yeah.
definitely.
Now that makes sense.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to make sure we're in a second location before I get out of the vehicle.
You're with me now.
He walked us to a bar/restaurant with only a few customers and a band playing. We sat at the bar, ordered a beer, and enjoyed the band. Except I was the only one enjoying it. He constantly complained about how the sound was off, the mics needed to be higher, etc. He said he couldn't stand it anymore and got up to, quote, fix it. The bartender, witnessing the whole thing and my mortified face, I don't even complain about getting wrong orders at restaurants, said, yeah, he always does this. ... What?
Oh, so he's been there before.
Turns out this isn't just his normal behavior. He works here. When he came back, he explained, while drumming on his chest, that he books the bands here and is friends with the band currently playing. The best is yet to come. He asks the singer if he can play a song with them. So he goes up there and plays for 30 minutes.
Oh no.
It's so awkward.
I fucking hate this
so
much.
I was sitting at the bar alone, ordering something way stronger than a beer, awkwardly watching my date sing Ho Hey by the Lumineers. He would purposefully yell hey at the ho part to mess up the other singer. He clearly thought it was hilarious by his cackling.
Oh my God.
So terrible. I would have snuck out the back. I would have snuck out the back if I could peel my skin off. Fast forward to arriving back at his place. I really wanted to leave and mentioned how late it was getting, setting up my smooth exit. He parks directly behind my car. He asks me if to come inside, and I again mention I have an early class in the morning. He says he'd really like me to meet his dogs and take them for a walk with him.
No.
Fine.
No.
I know. He lured her in with huskies. But only because I love huskies, is what she says. We go for a walk, and he keeps trying to make out with me while his dog is shitting and it's starting to rain.
This
as romantic as that is, I wiggle away and mention I need to go and ask him to move his car. He makes another excuse to get me to come back in and then tries to take off my cardigan that is now covered in husky hair, offering to wash it.
Okay,
what a weird thing to do. Like, when have you ever gone to someone's house and they're like, oh, did you get cat hair on your jacket? Let me throw it in the wash really fast. Like,
really fast, because that's how it works.
Hollow, like, weird
I hate it.
manipulation tactic. Yeah. It's so strange. I keep pulling it back up on my shoulders while he's kissing me and trying to smoothly get away, saying, sorry, I really can't. I have class. I've got to go. He kept rubbing his bulge on my thigh. Oh. Before I
probably closer to her knee. She
actually said in parenthetical, really just reminding me of how short he was. Oh. Before I finally snapped, you need to move your car. I have to go. He finally relented, huffing and puffing about next time. He texted me multiple times asking me to rate the date and when he would see me again.
What is this, fucking Yelp?
Buddy, there's no score low enough and never.
It's so true. It's like Yelp. If I could give this 0 stars,
I would. Oh my God.
I'm glad I can look back at this and acknowledge how far I've come in the dating world. I no longer put up with pushy men and put myself before their feelings and fragile egos. Dates/men like this just make me more appreciative of my amazing boyfriend of 3 years. I know it was long, but all those red flags couldn't be summed up in a paragraph. Thanks, ladies. Cheers, Lauren.
I love it. That's fucking hilarious.
Wow.
Oh my God. The amount of awkward in that story. Jesus
when
Christ.
Someone thinks that they're impressing you by getting up on stage to sing or something, and you're just like, ooh, please don't.
Also, this is random, but I've never taken a date to where I work. I just think that I would be uncomfortable with that. I don't like that
either.
Maybe that's just a me thing.
I think if
but
as a girl, maybe it'd be different, because if I was like maybe nervous about who I was going out with, like maybe I didn't trust them, taking them to a place I worked.
You have a safety net, kind of.
Exactly. But I don't know.
But clearly this was a power trip for this guy. Like, that's the thing, is like, it wasn't because he just felt comfortable there or whatever. It was because he knew that he could exert a certain amount of authority, and he knew he could get on stage, which is what he really...
Right.
That's exactly right.
That's
what
the
he really
only thing
wanted.
he has. Yeah, it's all he has that makes him remotely interesting, is that he can play the fucking guitar.
Gross.
Ugh.
All right. So my story is from, it's an oldie but goodie from a thread that I know all of us have been on Reddit before, but I can't get enough of this. And it just, I don't know why, but the story makes me so fucking laugh. It's hilarious to me. So hopefully you guys think it's as funny as I do. All right. So
Cool.
Worked at a Pizza Hut. A couple came in on their first date. They're in their mid-20s and on the first date at Pizza Hut, but I don't judge. The guy is trying way too hard to impress her, and she gets noticeably uncomfortable, but somehow he keeps managing to save it. I bring them their pizza, and the pizza, and the guy, still trying to impress her, wants to compliment the chef. We were quite busy that night, so I couldn't go to the quote chef. In parentheses, a 20-ish year old college dropout. As he was busy, so I offered to bring them to him. The girl says she's okay
so
and just wants to wait at the table. The guy's terrified, and I can see by the look on his face that he knows he doesn't have much of a choice. Once in the kitchen, he goes on for 15 minutes about how it was the most beautiful pizza he had ever seen, and how the chef should get a raise for delivering outstanding work. Pizza Hut. He's like, I have to compliment the chef. I don't know why it's so funny to me.
I'm so crazy.
He's
Maybe
like,
because I worked at a pizza
like,
place and I
sir.
can't imagine.
He's like, I pulled this sauce out of the freezer like 3 hours ago.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right.
You know, they make it at corporate and ship it to me in a bag.
Yeah.
So
God. He goes, it's obvious he has no idea what he's doing. Shit like this never happens. So the chef is just as confused as I am by the whole situation. Once he stops complimenting, I offer to take him back to his seat. But when we get back into view of his booth, I notice his date has left.
No.
I stop in my tracks and yell, I'm coming, to the boss who didn't call for me.
Bye.
Just so
My phone
I
rang.
didn't have
Bye.
to be with the guy when he realizes she left him.
Well,
5 minutes
He was back
pass.
there for 15 minutes. I probably would have left too.
Yeah, the pizza chef.
Yeah, I would have been like, no, this is...
Yeah, I'm out. 5 minutes pass, and he's just sitting there holding back tears when he finally asks for takeout. I feel bad for not being able to hold in my laughter long enough for him to walk out the door.
oh god.
Oh my God.
That is so well. I mean, silver lining. Now he has that whole
best,
delicious
most
pizza
beautiful pizza to himself.
for himself.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's still as good the next day.
I hope so.
Oh my god. Oh
With
my
that
God, I hope
masterpiece.
so.
Oh man.
Jesus Christ. I don't know why that was so funny either, Cassie, but I was crying.
I literally,
oh my God.
I'm like, I think it's because like I said, I used to work at a pizza place and I've definitely made pizzas, and I'm thinking like, we're like 16-year-olds back there making fucking pizza. This guy's like some 20-year-old who's just, like you said, slinging out like
Yeah,
pizza.
again, it's all like frozen, like, you know, no shade on Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut is fucking delicious. I have no, it's fine. But
it's
I'm
Pizza
just
Hut.
saying,
We're not talking about
like
a gourmet
going,
restaurant.
It's like going to McDonald's and going back through the drive-thru and being like, I'm sorry, I just had to come back and talk to whoever put my Big Mac together. Like, it's so strange.
Oh man.
Oh
It's
my
the
God.
best Big Mac I've ever had.
That is too much. Okay, you guys, are you ready to get into this with me?
Yes.
I'm very excited. You know that one of my favorite shows is Dateline.
Love it.
I'm obsessed with it. I was kind of procrastinating due to this week like being crazy, but I was thinking through yesterday at work. I'm like, I know I've watched so many Forensic Files and Snaps and Datelines recently. Like, what was that one? And it took me for freaking ever. And finally, with Eric's help, I found it. This Dateline episode is called Poisoned. And I'm actually going to do something a little bit different because I was so intrigued by this Dateline after I watched it that I deep dove it. And I actually have more information than the Dateline did.
Ooh.
And I want to hear you guys' opinion as I deep dive this Dateline. Okay. So, Mary Yoder, in her 60s. This is, 2015. She is just loved by everybody. She's a gardener. She's a chiropractor. She's in business with her husband.
I know
of
this
over,
one.
Like 38 years.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mary Yoder.
love this episode. Exactly. But I've got more information.
Oh, good.
So I'm
This story
stoked for you guys.
I was so confused whenever I heard it the first time. I didn't know what
Me
to believe.
too.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I had to go and deep dive to try to figure it out. Because when I watched the Dateline, I was like, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
I felt the same way.
Like what?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
good. Okay. So she's in business with her husband. Like everything's great. It's July in 2015. Her patients are coming in. Everything's perfect until the afternoon. And then the patients are like, are you okay? You seem like you're not feeling well. She gets so ill, she has to go to the ER. She is like severe vomiting, diarrhea, just like, severe. Immediately, she starts coding like 6 or 7 times. And then 2 days later, she's gone. Perfectly healthy woman, nothing wrong.
And even like
All of a
unusually
sudden-
healthy for her age, right? Because she's like in her
Yeah.
60s and she's like in great shape.
Right.
Yeah, when you look at photos of her, she looks like she's in her 40s. She looks great for her age. She cares for her body. She's very healthy. So it's really unusual. People are like, doctors have been like, we had no idea. We couldn't find out like what was wrong with her. But her husband's like, okay, let's go ahead and get her cremated, which is
Red
to me
fucking
always
flag.
a red
Right.
fucking flag. And her sisters are like, no, hold on. We actually want to know how she died. Like, we want an investigation. Because he flips the script, has her cremated. It's bing, bam, boom. So sudden, done.
I'm surprised
So
they let her, like, because the way that she died, it was so sudden. I'm like, why the fuck would they let him cremate her? Like, why
Right.
wouldn't anybody be like, hey, maybe we should investigate this? She was fine yesterday.
No, the sisters had to push for it. So it's like they push to get toxicology reports, and that takes like, a couple of months. And when it comes back, it comes that she is literally riddled with a drug called colchicine, which is a very obscure gout medication. So they're like, she doesn't have gout. Like, what
Right.
the fuck? There's no reason. And she had like 5 times the amount in her system needed to kill her. So it was just like, okay, so it's obvious that she's been poisoned. So, okay, what is going on? In the meantime, things are really weird with Bill. He's not really communicating with the sisters. They're like, what is going on? He doesn't seem to be acting right. We're suspicious that he had her cremated right away, and he keeps going out of town for the weekends. So they're like, oh my God, I bet you he has a girlfriend.
Fucking Bill.
And their suspicions are confirmed, but put a pin in that. We'll come back. Now, their office was a really small office. It was just the 2 of them as doctors, and then they had an office like assistant, administrator. Her name was Kaitlyn Conley. She's the one that would accept packages, order stuff if they need it, just schedule appointments, do all the regular stuff. And so the other person that was in the office kind of frequently was their son, Adam. Adam would wander in and out. He was like a younger kid. Mary had been having issues with him lately because he was in his early 20s and he was in college, but he was drinking quite a bit, getting blackout drunk, just irresponsible, didn't really have a job, and Mary had been giving him money, and was just getting at the point where she was gonna pull back that kind of support for him, be like, okay, it's time for you to stop pissing in the bottle in your basement room apartment.
That's right.
Eating that pizza.
Eating old pizza and getting a job, okay? So that's kind of the lay of the land. So the way that they figured it out from the toxicology report is they narrowed down when she would have had to have been poisoned. And they're like, okay, so we know it's in this time span, so let's see like who was in the office. Let's see what was going on. Well, Adam's like, well, no, I was like 300 miles away visiting my sister. So, you know, couldn't have been me. I wasn't there. But then the police get this handwritten letter, just basically this, or the typewritten letter, detailing like Adam did it. He confessed it to me. He has the poison in the front seat of his car. Like, this is why he did it, you know, because his mom was going to cut him off. And, you know, he is a very dangerous individual. And so they narrow down, they're talking to all the people in that office, and they get to Kaitlyn and they figure out she wrote the letter. And so they're like, okay, so you think it's Adam. That's crazy. We're going to call him in. They call him in and they're like,
fucked up story.
It really
they're
is.
like,
Ugh.
they're like, dude, so you've had this accusation. We want to look at your car. And he's really resistant at first. He's like, nah. And then the sisters are like, Adam, you need to let the cops look in your car.
And
they look
why
in the car.
wouldn't, you know, like if my mom had just died and I was just like, yeah, there's nothing in there, I'd be like, go ahead. You know, I wouldn't love it because, of course, you don't love whenever anybody's like getting in your shit. But it's like,
right.
If my mom had just died, I'd be like, fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's weird that he was like resisting, but then there it was, just like the letter said. It was in the front seat of his Jeep. And he's shocked. Apparently, this is what the cop said. He's shocked. He doesn't know anything about it, doesn't know how it got there. And also, I kind of tend to, well, I'll say it at that. He's shocked. He's like, I don't know what that is. I haven't heard of this fucking shit until, like, you know, that's what the toxicology came back. So I don't know how it got in my car. So they bring Kaitlyn back in and they're like, okay, so it's kind of weird that it's where you said it was, and that he drove up in the Jeep with the colchicine in his car. You know what I mean? If you got called into the police, you'd be like, oh shit, and you murdered your mom. You'd be like, shit, I need to get the murder weapon out of my car before I go there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's so weird. So they talked to her for 6 hours and they're like, we think that you had something to do with
Isn't she
this.
like 19 too? She's like young.
She was like 20. She's super
young.
young. And so they looked and they found that on her computer was on the receipt that came with the colchicine, it said Adam. It had ordered it, and it had this email, Mr. Adam Yoder 1990 at Gmail or whatever. And so they're like, the only computer to access that email ever is your computer at the chiropractic office. So that's weird.
Yep.
Also, we just looked at your phone, and your phone record has all these searches for colchicine, arsenic, all these different poisons.
Interesting.
interesting. And they're talking to her, and she's like sticking to her story that it was Adam, that it was not her. And she's like, that's what makes it so weird, though, is that poison is a lady's weapon. And so they take that as like, oh my God, that's
Confession,
her confessing or whatever.
Well, it's definitely not a confession, but it's definitely a weird thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It's a weird thing to say, but it's also a weird fucking situation if you're 20 and you're like being interrogated by the cops for several hours. I would probably say weird shit.
Yeah.
And Jesus Christ, if you look at my phone records and the stuff that you can pin anything on me based on my Google searches.
God, I know.
You know what I mean? Because I like see something in a murder show and then I like look it up, you know? So
You're like, how does luminol work? And then all of a sudden you get like shit for a crime.
I'm pinned for murder. But I'm like, yeah, maybe she just likes forensic files, or it was in a House episode.
Right.
So it's like maybe she watched that House episode and was like, oh, what is that? And looked up more stuff about
it's
it.
not
Shit.
enough.
House is definitely going to get me in trouble. And Bones.
Right? Mm-hmm. So they're like convinced that she had done it. What convinces them further is that she had an on and off relationship with Mary and Bill's son, Adam. And it was like a very turbulent relationship. And after his mom's death, they had recently rekindled their relationship.
Well,
however, that fizzled within a couple of months. And by the time they were interrogating her, by the time they got the letter, they were not together anymore. So the police had all this circumstantial evidence that was starting to line up against Kaitlyn Conley. What they couldn't really figure out was the motive. What they finally decided on was that she had poisoned Mary to get back together with Adam. And then when that didn't work, she was vengeful and decided to frame him for the murder of Mary. That was their whole like case, pretty much. Now, here's the circumstantial evidence that they had against her, and it is actually rather compelling. It is a lot of stuff. She had pre-purchased like Visa cards. And those Visa cards she admitted to pre-purchasing them. Those cards were the ones used to order the poison. The poison was ordered in like 2015, and her search terms, because I looked up like, well, when did she search colchicine? Because if she searched like after the fact or whatever, like, hey, what is this that killed my boss? Like, you can't say dick, but it was actually in November of 2014 when she started like researching all these different poisons. So her DNA was on the packaging and the colchicine in Adam's car. Adam's was not. Hers was the only DNA on it. However, it got shipped to the office, like all the packages would have her DNA.
She's the one.
it.
That's her job, is to order that stuff and also have it delivered to her to open.
Right. Yeah. And then finally, like they have the letter that was on her computer. They have the fact that email address was only accessed on her computer, and the password too for it. You know how you have to have an email and password was Adam is gay.
Wow.
Which kind of seems like a you know what I mean? Like a kind of spiteful girlfriend thing to throw in there. So they're like, okay, that's enough circumstantial evidence. We're going to come through. And in order to make their case, they decide to give immunity to Bill, the husband, and Adam, the son.
I do not understand that.
Case.
I don't understand that move at all, because the case wasn't strong enough. Like, in my opinion, I remember listening to this on the Dateline podcast and just being like, it is a lot of circumstantial evidence, but you could so easily poke holes in all of this. It's like they had a relationship. Adam had access to her laptop. Like, all of this stuff. He had access to her devices. What's to say that he didn't look up colchicine on her phone? Like, all of this stuff. Why would you blow, like, sure, okay, bring her in or whatever, but like, why blow your wad as far as like now you are not allowed, the other two people who could have potentially been involved, now you can never go after them. Like,
right. And
why would you do that?
What a bullshit sexist thing too, to be like, oh, a woman scorned. Like,
Women's,
you know what I mean?
It's very
poison.
weak motive. It's very, very weak motive. It doesn't make sense. Like, you would have to be, I'm not saying that it's never happened. I've watched enough episodes of Snapped to know that it can happen, but I feel like you would have to be pretty mentally unhinged to think of to do it for this reason. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, and also the lengths that it would, this whole thing for her then, if you're subscribing to that timeline, is like an entire year of planning, because she's researching it and then she orders it a few months later, and then it's 6 months that she sits on that poison before moving forward.
Yeah, whereas you have two other people involved in this who have stronger motivation than she does. You know what I mean? Because it's a very weird, and also you're right. It's like you're subscribing to this timeline where she would have had to have been doing this for a year for a gamble that may not have even paid off.
Exactly.
Like, because she's doing it.
A relationship that she didn't even want to be in anymore. She had broken up with him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Initially. So I'm like.
Yeah. It's weird. And it feels so much like all of the prosecutors got into a room and they were like, okay, what can we create that sounds plausible? Because they didn't have any real evidence that she desperately needed to be with him. Like all the things that I saw were just like normal 19, 20-year-old relationship bullshit. But there was nothing in it that made it seem like she was obsessed with him or obsessive. And so it really feels like a bunch of people got together and they were like, I don't know, we think she did it, but we can't come up with a motivation. What can we find that makes any sense at all? And they just...
And also, I'm sorry, but if you are so diabolical that you plan like a murder, or even if you want to say she just planned on getting her sick, that she spent a fucking year meticulously like going through with it, that personality trait is going to manifest itself in other ways where people are going to notice that you are a darker person, or they're going to pick up on it. And literally like everyone in her life is like, that's not fucking her. I mean, that is a lot. Like, you can, crimes of passion, sometimes I can almost understand that. You get so fucking angry or so fucking hurt that something happens. But to spend a year planning a murder like that is fucking dark and scary. And I just did not see that in her whatsoever. But
and I know that people can be tricked, but...
Well, the other side of it too is that, I mean, she was practically like family to them, right? I mean, that was the thing, is that they were like, she was like another daughter to them. Like they always treated her like family. And it's so, the relationship she had with them was so much more than just her happening to date their son. Like, this is somebody that was like almost another appendage to the family.
Yeah. Yeah. She was in the obituary. You know? And so, yeah, they go to trial with this stuff. The defense finally comes out with the story. Her first trial, the defense is, this is bullshit. It's circumstantial. She is being framed, and she's being framed by Bill. Bill was cheating on Mary with Mary's sister.
Boom. I remember that part of the Dateline. I was like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, we didn't start until after she died. And I was like, bullshit. You guys, like, you went into like from 0 to full blown affair like a week after she died. Like, no way. No way.
Right. And also, like, that there's a witness, a neighbor of Mary's sister, who's like, no, I saw them like making out on the porch like weeks before Mary's death. Like, it's not true. But phone records and stuff like that do support their timeline. They didn't start like heavily texting or calling each other until like a few weeks after her death. And, you know, part of my deep dive was on Reddit. There are people that are like, You can judge that, but it's actually really common for grieving people. Like maybe it felt familiar and they grieved together.
Sure.
I mean, it's
I get
icky,
that, but I could never. Like, I don't. I couldn't do that if it was my sister's husband. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
That puts it just in a totally different. I can see that, like, maybe if they were like close friends or something, and I don't know,
or even another relationship. If it was something other than your sibling, I think it's just. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and they're like also colchicine, along with being a gout medication, is a drug that Bill is very familiar with because Bill used to use it to grow super marijuana back in the 80s because apparently you can use it in gardening. And Bill was no slouch at gardening himself. And so the actual letter required to get the colchicine, their letter of intent of what they were going to do with it, was written out with a lot of sophisticated horticultural knowledge of being like, this is what we're going to use it for, to create like this thing you're that we just want female plants.
You're telling me Katie did that? Like, and then didn't Bill get money too? Like he got money when she died or something.
Well, yeah. The thing is that they were pretty in debt and Bill wanted to retire. And even though he had just received an inheritance, it wasn't going to be enough for both of them to retire. They had too much debt. But with her gone, it was definitely like he retired shortly after that. He could retire now. And not only that, the sister that he's with is very well off. So he's fine.
He's living the high life now.
Financially. Yeah. Yeah. So, and they're like, I'm going to, I can't sum it up better than this, but Kaitlyn ends up getting a mistrial for that first. There's too much reasonable doubt. The jury's like, we cannot come to a thing. They decide to try it again. And I don't know why her parents or whatever decided to go with a different defense attorney, but they changed their defense for the second trial. And instead of painting the reasonable doubt with Bill's involvement, they focused on Adam's involvement.
Why would you do that? You had a winning case.
Exactly. Because I'm like, I think jurors would believe a husband killing his wife over a son killing his mother.
A husband who was having an affair with his sister-in-law killing his wife. Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, she switches up her strategy, and it's still like the jury's deadlocked. But the judge is like, no, you know what? You're going to come to a verdict no matter what. And I'll tell you what, I'll even throw in this lesser charge of manslaughter, which is fucking bullshit.
I think that's fucking bullshit too. That's like playing dirty. I don't like that.
Yeah. So, and literally right after he says that, 2 hours later, the jury comes back in with a verdict and she is guilty of manslaughter. So she goes to prison. Now, her family, along with the sisters, have started this like huge campaign, Free Kaitlyn Conley. They're like positive she didn't do it. And I have to find this thing really quick to read to you because the sisters
aren't having
put together this huge Facebook post that lays it out so much better.
Right, because there's like a schism in the family because the
Oh, sorry. It's Kaitlyn Conley. I keep saying Conyer. I don't know why, but it's Conley.
Because there's the two sisters who are like, nah, fuck Bill. He definitely did it. And Kaitlyn is innocent. And then there's like the son, Adam, and then the other sister, obviously, that Bill is now fucking.
Right.
So
and
they're sitting on opposite
Bill,
sides of the courtroom.
Yeah. Bill and Mary's other two daughters, too, were like the amount of grief that they had to go through losing their mother, then thinking that their father killed her, and now thinking somebody else that they thought was a member of the family. I feel it's torn their whole fucking family apart for sure. Mary Yoder was my sister, and I firmly believe that Kaitlyn Conley has been wrongfully convicted of her murder. It is my opinion that a flawed and incomplete investigation was conducted by the Oneida County Sheriff's Office. Kaitlyn was indicted despite urgent pleas from my sisters to the investigators and the prosecuting ADA to consider the possibility that she was being framed. Our brother-in-law, Bill Yoder, had both financial and romantic motive to kill our sister. We had information to show that he had probable knowledge and use of colchicine in the early 80s to grow a crop of super marijuana. The investigators were not interested in what we had to say. They had made up their minds that Kaitlyn was the killer after meeting with Bill and Adam. To our horror, Bill and Adam were given full immunity for their testimony against Kaitlyn in a grand jury hearing.
Fucking wild.
Mary died of colchicine poisoning, and that's all that was ever proven. She was a master gardener. Bill was no slouch in that regard either. The colchicine was ordered and sent to the chiropractic office that Bill and Mary operated. The drug company required a letter explaining the intended use. The letter was signed by Mary and Adam and included sophisticated verbiage regarding a process of genetically modifying plants. This is not something that Kaitlyn would have knowledge of, and nothing was found on her devices to indicate that she had ever researched it, which is like, ugh. Despite the verbiage on the letter and our efforts to explain the connection, the investigators refused to consider the possibility that it had been ordered by anyone other than Kaitlyn. And even if she did order it,
Yeah.
maybe she
It's
was
her
told
job.
to by Bill.
Right. It is her
Bill
job.
was like, order colchicine.
And I'm
You
sure
know what
she
I
gets
mean?
asked to order all kinds of complicated, like, medical
right.
things that she doesn't know. You know, I would
And
do
maybe,
the same thing.
maybe she looks it up right after, because maybe she's like, oh, he wants me to order this. I need to know how to spell it or whatever. Because her first two entries are misspelled.
That's exactly what that sounds like. Is that she's trying to figure
She's
it
like-
out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's immediately what came to my head.
Because
is
why
like,
would she
you
know about
my-
it otherwise?
Right. Like, why? You know, she had to have, like, heard it or been asked to order it, I think.
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah, it's not something like any typical 20-year-old would just be like, I want to poison somebody. Oh, I know. I'll just go get some colchicine. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
The things that we hear about are like arsenic, or like there's other kinds of poisons that we hear about more often. I would never have been like, yeah, that's how I'm going to do it. Someone would have had to tell me. I would have had to learn that somewhere.
Yeah, they go on to say Bill Yoder has been underestimated throughout all of this. He is a brilliant scholar with 2 PhDs, an avid reader of murder mysteries, and the quintessential detailist. If anyone could pull off a murder and frame someone, he could. He has far more computer knowledge than he admits and had access to the devices that incriminated Kaitlyn Conley, as did Adam. Because the sisters believe that Bill did it and had Adam help, because they later go on to say that, like, Bill and Adam didn't really get along before this because Adam's kind of a ne'er-do-well. But after Mary's death, they spend a whole bunch of time together. And I'm like, that could be grieving father and son, or that could be co-conspirators. You know?
Yeah.
So Bill had everything to gain from Mary's death, you know, the financial stuff, the romantic stuff with their other sister. And I'm just like, the way that they put it together is what we've said a million times. You cannot send someone to jail if there is reasonable doubt.
Agree.
Is there some evidence to show that maybe she did this? Yes,
It's not
absolutely.
enough. It's not enough.
But it's not enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough.
No.
I'm sorry. I have doubts. I really do think after deep diving, I think Bill did it and framed Kaitlyn.
I agree.
Well, and clearly
really do.
the juries had doubts. Clearly.
Right. After seeing like all the evidence laid out. And then I think because they had already been debating for so long during the second trial, they viewed manslaughter as like a way out, like a compromise.
easy-
and they fucked that woman's life up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to be done with it.
Well, all
You know
these
what I
people
mean?
did. And I feel like oftentimes in our criminal justice system, we're so focused on like winning, right? Like I think that comes into play a lot. You see that a lot with prosecutors where it's just like they will find a way to make their case and argue their case and make their case work, like regardless of like, is this the truth? You know what I mean?
Is it right? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But anyways, this made me think of like all the Datelines and all the shows that we watch that we just like take as fact, that when you go and you actually look and like deep dive, because you know, you see like the cops on that and you're like, oh yeah, you got him. But I'm like, how much of this might be bullshit?
Well, even when I listened to that Dateline, I was like, huh? Because they were trying to make that Dateline sound like, ooh, isn't this like scandalous? Like that she did this thing. And I'm like,
yeah, but by
even
the time
in
they
the
get to the
Dateline,
end, yeah, but even by the time they get to the end, the sisters are so convincing to me that she didn't do it. I really believe them.
Yeah. So she still has appeals and stuff like that. So I'm going to keep an eye on it because it's a fairly recent case. And, you know,
man, if you want to have your shit rocked, like not to jump ahead into like what we're watching, but about like the criminal justice system, I texted you guys, I started that How to Fix a Drug Scandal on Netflix.
Yeah. Eric started it too. He said it's amazing. I can't wait to watch it.
It's good. I only watched the first 2 episodes so far. Maybe I watched the third one. I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, it does give you kind of like an inside look at like, I do believe there are so many people who are serving in our criminal justice system who are doing it for the right reasons and like trying to come to the truth. But then there is an element of like, can this make us look bad? Is it expensive? Like all of these things that will prevent justice from happening. Because basically, like, How to Fix a Drug Scandal is like there were 2 drug technicians whose job it is to test drugs in the lab and then report their findings to like the court, essentially, to like get people arrested or whatever, or put away to secure convictions. And one of them was a woman who was working, she was emailing back and forth, like she was friends with the prosecutor, so she was obviously on their side. Like there were emails back and forth with them being like, we got to catch a bad guy, Annie, like we're going to catch a bad guy. So she was just not testing drugs. Like she was just like, yep, it's cocaine. And like they found out later that like a handful of the things she said were cocaine were actually like salt. Or, you know, other substances.
Oh my God.
And so there was that woman. And then there was another woman who was like her work wasn't necessarily bad, but she was taking drugs. Like she was taking, like she was like on meth. She started a meth addiction with the drugs that were in the lab. And so the defense attorneys are trying to argue this shit went on for years. And the defense attorneys are trying to argue that all of these drug convictions that you guys secured with these 2 technicians who signed off on these, they all need to be thrown out because it's all contaminated. And you need to like, you have to let these people go. And basically they're like, nope, nothing's wrong. We're not gonna, we're gonna keep all these people in jail.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you, I don't understand why people are like, get all like head up when you criticize like civil servants or whatever. Because the same percentage of shitty people work those jobs that work in a restaurant or that work in any field.
Sometimes more.
A certain percentage of people are shitty and they'll do shitty things.
And sometimes more in those fields because those fields draw a certain number of, they draw people who are justice oriented and want to do good things. They also draw people who are power oriented. So you are going to get a certain amount of people for whom it is more important for them to win than for them to do the right thing or to not look bad. You know what I mean? And so like you end up in these situations and we should criticize these people because they should be held up to a higher standard. We should be holding them up to the highest standard possible. And it's not unfair of us to do that, you know?
Right. Exactly. What am I watching this week? God, nothing. I have nothing. This week has been all work. And like I said, I got a couple of hours yesterday and I just laid on the couch and binged like 100 forensic files. It's soothing. It's like the really old ones too. I'm just like,
where you got like real good hair. in it, real thick glasses. Have you seen, somebody made an Instagram that's like the people of Forensic Files, and it's just like stills of like, it's like Deborah,
I'm gonna
and she's
find that immediately.
it's like Deborah's wearing like transition glasses, and she's got like feathered hair. You know, I've also been watching Escape at Dannemora. Did I talk about that on last week's episode?
Yes.
Oh man,
yes.
it is uncomfy how absolutely horrifying the stylists made these people look. Like Paul Dano
Is that what?
is by far the hottest man in, like the hottest person in this show. Like by far, by a wide margin.
No. Oh, God.
Oh.
What about you, Cassie?
Chris and I decided to get CBS All Access trial for a month, and we binge watched Picard, and it is super fucking good. If you're into Star Trek at all, it is some of the best Star Trek contents I've seen. It's really fucking good.
We've talked. I love Next Gen. And so I would definitely want to watch Picard. It's
Me
on
too,
my list for sure.
It's really fucking good. I was so impressed with it. I honestly, initially was kind of like, I don't know, whatever about like watching it. And I love Next Gen and I love Star Trek. I'm definitely a Trekkie over Wars if we have to do that. But I was so impressed. I thought it was incredible and super well done. Beautiful. So I loved it.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, if you guys have stuff that you want us to watch, if you have suggestions, especially if you have stories right now, we want more stories. We want dating in the time of pandemic stories, or just anything. Go to our one-stop shop of a website at myworstdatepodcast.com. We're going to continue doing all sorts of fun content to keep ourselves entertained and hopefully you during this whole thing. So keep checking us on Instagram, on Facebook, YouTube Live. More of those are going to come up soon. So we thank you guys so much for listening.
Cheers.
Your challenge, if you choose to accept it, is this.
Let's go! Let's go!
Show up on day one, work out with us for 30 minutes, feel good right away.
Yo!
Repeat 5 days a week for 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
5 workouts a week.
We're Body, and we call that a body block.
You pick the block, and you're going to love the experience.
On week 4, this part is really important. Take the week off. Seriously, we mean it. Rest. Go on vacation. Or try something new. Maybe some yoga.
Notice you're not holding on to any tension here.
Or a dance class.
Get sexy with it, daddy.
You do you. And then start again.
Be committed to this process.
Choose a new body block each month. Get a new challenge each month. Have fun every day. Avoid burnout.
You're not going to quit on yourself today.
This is how you reach your goals. You in?
There is nothing that we can't do if we work together.
Sign up for your first body block today. Visit body.com for a free trial. That's BODI.com.
Are you ready to get started?
This is a Glass Box Media Podcast.